Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. We've seen this fight play out before. The big thing that Aljo had going for him in the first fight was his pace and his pressure. He brought a lot of aggression. He brought a lot of volume. I think you can argue about who won, who was winning the fight early, that first round and that second round. Sterling was definitely pouring the volume on. He wasn't necessarily hurting Yan, and Yan definitely had his moments. They went back and forth. It was just a really good high-action back-and-forth fight. But I think you definitely have to agree that at least early, Sterling was in the fight and was holding his own. It was a close back-and-forth kind of fight early. But that was largely just because Sterling was pouring on the pace and the pressure so much to a level that there's no way he could keep up for 5 rounds. So, and the way Petr Yan works, Petr Yan is like a machine, he hangs out, and he's literally like a robot. He's got like a computer in his head that's like making reads like dun, 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 like, oh, I can let you win the first 2 rounds and then I will have all my reads and then I will take over kind of thing, so like, he was picking his moments, picking his spots, landing his strikes in those first 2 rounds. But Petr Yan understands that he knew that the way Aljamain Sterling was pouring on that pace and volume, that Sterling wasn't going to be able to keep that up. So all he had to do was wait until Sterling started to slow down, and then he could just look to take over. How is Sterling going to come out and approach the fight differently this time? Will he approach the fight differently this time? I can't remember who it was. I heard, maybe it was even one of the commentators on that first fight, I can't remember, saying that they thought that Aljamain Sterling's game plan wasn't very good. Like, coming out with that kind of pace and pressure isn't a smart game plan against Yan because you're not going to be able to keep it up. But here's the thing. How does Aljamain Sterling, if you agree that he won round 1 and or round 2, which he may have, he may not have, whatever, it was close. I think if he wasn't bringing that pace and that pressure, he would have clearly lost those rounds, the ones that he may have won. So like, to say it's not a good game plan, like, bringing that pace and pressure was the only thing that was keeping that fight close, in my opinion. If he hadn't been bringing that level of pace and pressure, he probably would have been being dominated in every round, because that was really what Sterling had going for him, was that pace and that pressure. Obviously, Sterling has, he's a great grappler. He's an opportunistic grappler. Look what he did against Corey Sandhagen. Could he do something like that against Petr Yan? Maybe. I don't think it's likely, but yeah, could he just find that exact right moment early in the fight and jump on Yan's back? It's possible, but I don't think it's very likely. And therefore, it's hard for me to see how Aljamain Sterling wins this fight. I don't think it's hard for me to see him winning a decision because, like I said, in order to even win minutes of the fight early, he had to pour on that pace and that pressure, which he can't keep up, and then Yan would take over late. If he doesn't pour on that pace and that pressure, then I don't think he's even going to be winning early. You see what I mean? I don't mean to oversimplify the way I'm breaking this down, but that's really how I see it. So I see it as like, if Aljamain Sterling doesn't, it's hard to imagine Aljamain Sterling winning this fight unless he finds a finish. And it's really hard to imagine him finding a finish. But I think that's his best chance. I feel like Aljamain Sterling finding a submission feels more likely to me than him winning a decision here, because I just knowing how smart of a fighter Petr Yan is, and knowing the reads that Petr Yan makes, and figuring out where his moments are to pour on his aggression, where his moments are. He knows what to do and when to do it. He's just such a smart fighter, and I just can't see him losing enough minutes to Aljamain Sterling over 25 minutes to lose a decision. I just don't think that that's very likely. That said, I am really interested to see how Aljamain Sterling comes out here. Is he going to have a totally different game plan? Is he going to have a totally different approach? I don't know, and I'm really excited to see that. And I forgot to pull up the line again. Petr Yan is at minus 450. Aljamain Sterling is at plus 365. I think you could argue that line is wide, but like I said, it's hard to imagine Aljamain Sterling winning a decision, and it's hard to imagine him finding a finish. So maybe it's not wide. Looking at the first fight and how closely it played out, at least at times, it wasn't like Yan was blowing Sterling out of the water the entire time. I mean, Sterling was definitely having his moments where he was winning the fight. He was in the fight. It was playing out fairly closely. So looking at it that way, I can see why people are arguing that line might be a little bit wide, but it is hard for me to see Sterling winning here. Would I parlay Petr Yan at that number? Maybe, I don't know. Like it does seem like it does seem like a big number, and you're not going to get a whole lot of value added to a parlay by parlaying somebody at minus 450. So I maybe wouldn't, but I do think Petr Yan wins here. It's hard for me to see Aljamain Sterling winning. Oh, I don't know if you all watched Stat Diggers today. Brady and Wheezy talked about, I think it was, they mentioned that a parlay of Volkanovski, Yan, Chimaev, and Gary doesn't even pay plus money. You can parlay those four together, and you're still going to have a minus sign in front of the number. That is ridiculous. Don't play that parlay. That's a bad idea. You know how it is. There's always an apple pie shitter. One of those guys is going to lose. Volkanovski, Yan, Chimaev, Gary. One of them is going to lose, guys. That's just how it goes. I'm not even sure if I believe that, but, that is it tends to be how it plays out.